They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, yo, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 159 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Let me see who we got here this morning. Let's see. We got a lot of folks. We got the Connecticut Principal of the Year, AP Principal of the Year, Arlette Johnson in the building out there in Stratford, Connecticut, doing big things. We got Takesha High in the building. We got Rodney Richardson, Scott Wiley, Mike Van Winkle. Let's see. I got to read what he said. He said, Mike said, hope all enjoy the Saturday. The end of the school year is approaching for some, but we are still bringing that fire every day. There you go. You just summed it up. That's it, Mike. Demetrius Scott, man. Let me talk about Demetrius real quick, y'all. Y'all know, those of you who've been with us for a while, I really should probably do this when I got more people on because people are still logging on, but I'll do it twice, man. Demetrius Scott just got his doctorate. He successfully defended his dissertation. He's been with us from the beginning, I think week 1. Here we are, 159. He's been keeping some notes for us as well for those that want to have something in print. But he's now Dr. Demetrius Scott, right? Dr. Demetrius Scott. So give him some applause, whatever you do in your comments, your emojis, your praise, your applause, whatever it is. But that's our brother, Demetrius Scott, who is now Dr. Scott. That's big time. We got Marsha Poe in the building, Otis Kitchen II, Principal Otis Kitchen II, Darnell McElveen, Arcella Austri, Cammie Berry, Indigo Love, Ronald Pugh, Sean Hurt. My man, he had a great present. He's always great, man. Every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, Facebook Live. Tune in. The Turnaround Principal, Sean Hurt. We got Vanessa Zeskind in the building. You got that new one, Medina Sherragance in the building. Rashad Davis is out there. James Presley, he's going to be with us next week. James Presley, Principal Presley down there in Florida. He's going to be with us next Saturday with another principal out in St. Louis. Daryl Diggs, Dr. Daryl Diggs, but we'll talk about that later. We got where we at? This thing jumped, y'all. A lot of people just jumped on here. We got Kamani Smith. We got September. Devon Vance Daniels in the building. She said, let's go. We got Karima Anque in the building. Where we at? We got Principal Dot McKeever Jeter in the building. I told somebody to reach out to you, Dot. Principal, first year principal down in up in Toronto. I met her the other night, and she's looking for a coach. I said I got the best person, Principal Dot McKeever Jeter. So I'm sure she'll be in touch. Maybe she already has. And we got Melissa Jones-Chunu in the building. Lysandra Brackens, Candace Norwood, Lewis Saunders is in the building. Oh, there's the queen, man. The queen. That's my wife. Kimberly Broughton Kafele is in the building. We got the former student. We got Letitia Anderson Davis in the building. Man, let me tell y'all something. I say this every time I see her or others, the former students, but I'm just going to keep doing it. Letitia was my student in the 1992-93 school year. Don't do the math, but she was my 6th grade student. 92-93, right? Don't do the math, right? But she's still rocking with her old teacher, man. That's an honor. That's a blessing. That's when you really know that your work wasn't in vain, right? That you made an impact, that you made a difference. When the student from way back when, man, I was a baby in 92, is still here. I appreciate you, Letitia. You know that, though. You know that. We got Christopher Mano in the building. We got Tiffany L. Davis Neely in the building. We got Jeff Milner in the building. Edward J. Kirkland, Jasmine Harris out there in California. That's where I was yesterday. I was supposed to be doing this broadcast from there this morning because I thought I was going to the Laker game until they said the ticket was $6,000. I said, what's the next flight back to Jersey? Because I ain't spending. My max is $1,000. I ain't spending $6,000 to see LeBron James and Steph Curry. I watch them on the TV, right? Aisha Santos is in the building. Good to see you. We got Cindy Mosley Nassau, Lisa DeBose Walker, Vanessa Zeskin. I may have said that already, but if I did, I said it twice. Lynette Wilson. I'm getting ready to get started, y'all. It's that time. Charlena Hottie, Dr. Rella Hicks is in the building. Judy Vella Guerra. And where we at? Lily Lanier. I think I'm getting ready to roll it up and get ready to get started. Let me see what Kimani Smith Kafele. I met you before my first principal gig in Dayton, Ohio. Now I'm finishing because I'm finishing BC. What's that BC stand for, man? I can't think. Finishing up my second years in AP. I don't know what that BC means, but I appreciate you, Kimani. Met you in Dayton. I gotta get back to Dayton. I ain't been there in a minute. Right. All right, y'all. Let me just see if there's anybody that I like really need to shout out here. I guess we good. I see East Orange in the building, man. I got always East Orange. I wear East Orange on my sleeve. That's my man, Keith Hinton, the second in the building. Gotta shout you out, man. You rock, you repping EO. So here we go, y'all. Here we go. Let me say to you formally, good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 159 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. And as I say every week now, let me do it different. As I've been saying it lately, let me ask you a question. How are you? That's my question. How you doing? How was your week? How are you feeling? How are you feeling emotionally? Right? Well, let me let you know how I'm feeling. You let me know how you're feeling with some of those emojis in the comments. But to get us started, let me just let you know how I'm feeling, because there might be someone new on here that really doesn't know me. So let me let you know. I'm on fire! Woo! Whew. I had to release that, y'all. I had to get that out, man. I did some flying this week, man. I did some work this week. You got to get that out. If I was in the hotel this morning, y'all know I can't yell it like that. I would have to just like say it. I'm on fire, right? Because I can't. It'd be 8 o'clock in the morning in Cali. So I can't yell it. Although some of you know I've gone on and done that sometimes. But you know, I got this quick commentary for you. And I'm wording it, I'm calling it Teacher Appreciation Week was last week. But how will you demonstrate appreciation this week? That's my topic. Teacher Appreciation Week was last week. How will you demonstrate your appreciation for your teachers this week, next school year, before May? See, in other words, you already know where I'm going. The appreciation doesn't stop with Teacher Appreciation Week. You got to keep demonstrating appreciation. However, you don't have to give them a breakfast every week. You don't have to give them a luncheon every week. You don't have to buy things every week. They're not looking for that. I think I could speak for every teacher in America. They're not looking for the luncheon. They're not looking for the breakfast. They're not looking for the new leather folder with the name of the school on it. They're not looking for the crystal apple. They're not looking for the pen and the pencil set. What they're looking for you is for you to say, I see you. Let me say that again, because you ain't hear me. They looking for you to simply say, I see you. Meaning, I'm using slang, let's translate it. Meaning, I appreciate what you do. Man, keep up the great work. What you're doing for young people is immeasurable. That's all they looking for, man. They looking for some praise. They looking for some acknowledgement. They looking for some respect. They looking for some appreciation. They not moved by no luncheon. It's nice. They not moved by your breakfast. It's nice. But that doesn't sustain them for 180 days. If you gave them a breakfast, they hungry again by lunchtime. So then what we got? See, so I'm reminding us, teacher appreciation is a real simple thing to do. It's like real small, but gets big results. So don't you lose sight of that. It matters. Let's go, y'all. Welcome to the first timers. If this is your first time, that means you have missed 158 sessions. So go to the YouTube channel, Virtual AP Leadership Academy, and just binge watch all 158. I promise you, there is not a bad session in there. They are all phenomenal. I got folks reaching out to me now, like getting credits for college courses and leadership academies within their school district for this. Can you imagine that? Right? So yeah, they're just asking me to sign off. I'm like, all right, I ain't no account. I can't hold them accountable. But if you feel that it can count, let's make it count. Right? So welcome to the first timers. Don't let this be your last time. Secondly, I keep saying it. I'm gonna say it all the way to July. The School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. That's my institute. Come on with me. That's for principals, APs, aspiring administrators. That's for everybody. Come on and join me in Charlotte, July 11 and 12. Go to principalkafele.com. Scroll down to the announcements, and you'll see School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. Come on and join me in Charlotte for 2 days. We're going to go 9 to 4 both days, and we're going to have a blast, man, just talking leadership. Right, in the same room. We're not going virtual. We're gonna be in the same room talking leadership. So join me. I love to see you. I gotta plug this, right? Man, got my copy, man. The assistant principal identity. It's hot off the press. Matter of fact, my hand burning up, man. It's so hot I can't hold it in one hand for long because it's blazing and it's moving like. I looked at it, it's still the #1 new release on Amazon in administration, but I looked at this morning, its ranking with administration. It's ranked #3 right now. So y'all been buying it. So all I could do is say thank you. Thank you to all of you for supporting this book early on. One young lady, I posted her tweet this morning. She said, she said, I got all the Principal Kafele's books, but this book here is doing something different with my soul. I'm like, man, and I'm thinking to myself, that's why I wrote it this way. This book is written differently from every book I've ever written. This book is comprised of 30 self-reflective questions. Usually I do 50, but this one I did 30. And what I did different is every question is a two-parter. The first part of the question is me answering the question in terms of my experiences. So I brought me into the writing so to show you I lived this thing, and let me show you how I dealt with it. And then I asked the question, what about you? And then we talk about you in terms of my suggestions, strategies, advice, etc. So the assistant principal identity, protecting your leadership mindset, fervor, and authenticity. So as far as the academy, these are really the two that supplement the academy. So the assistant principal 50, which is my perennial bestseller, and now this new one. And I've been on these airplanes working on the assistant principal impact. I'm halfway done. But that'll be out next May, right? But I'm a workaholic, probably to a fault. But yeah, that book will be out in May, but we're working on it right now. Let's see. Make sure that you go to Alexa and say open ASCD morning message, and you'll hear my motivational message, or my message, not necessarily motivational, but my message for the day. Just go to Alexa on your device, your Alexa, whatever that thing is called, and I guess it's called a device, and check out the morning message. I got something new every day. It's a collaboration with Alexa and ASCD. And then lastly, be sure to like and follow the Virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page. Enough of these announcements. I got 4 guests today. That's a little bit more than I normally have. Every now and then I'll bring on 4. I think I've had 5 once, but we got 4 today. And these are 3 first years and 1 second year principal. And I'm gonna treat them as first year. I'm not sure that one of them did a full first year or something like that. We'll find out when I bring her up here exactly how that went. She told me months ago, but I don't remember. But we got rookies on here. We got babies in the principalship, but not in education. So let me bring them on up here so you can see who I got on the screen this morning. We got these 4 new superstars. We have Principal, and I'll just read them the way I got them on the screen. We got Principal Nicole Hall from Willingboro, New Jersey.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. We got Principal Esther Loor from Summit, New Jersey.
Hi.
We got Principal Ginny Liang from Houston, Texas. And last,
good morning, everyone.
I'm sorry about that. Yes, ma'am. And then last but least, we got Principal Connie Grier from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm glad to have you all here. I didn't have a specific topic per se. I just wanted to talk about some new leadership. Jenny, what in your first, did you do a full? You didn't do a full first year, right? You did a full second year. Do I have that right?
I did a full first year.
Oh, you did?
I opened a brand new school. I started the full first year, and this is my second year as a principal.
I got you. So we got 3 first years and 1 second year. And we're going to jump into quite a few things here, y'all. They got these bios, right? And I want to read them. I was getting ready to edit them, and I said, can y'all just hang in there with me to the folks who are viewing this morning. And by the way, my mother keeps telling me I need to do this. I know my mother's watching. My mom says you always acknowledge the people in the thread, but you don't acknowledge the people who are not in the thread. She tells me that every week. And to the people who don't leave comments, who are just watching but don't necessarily have a need to write a comment or don't want to write a comment, I appreciate you too, right? My mom reminds me of that. I appreciate you too. Glad you're here. I don't see you, but then when I see you, when I'm on, at your campus or at a conference, then you'll say to me, I watch every Saturday and I don't remember your name. And it clicks with me. That's right. You probably don't leave a comment. So I appreciate the folks that don't leave comments as well. Let me go through these quick. I'm gonna read fast, y'all. I might not read them all because I got 4, but let me read as much as I can. Principal Connie Grier comes to the principalship with 9 years of administrative experience and 30 years in the district total. That's a lot of years. Connie was one of 7 principal residents in the district's pilot principal residency program last year. As a proud product of the school district of Philadelphia, her life's work is devoted to building academic communities for all students that are nurturing and intentional in supporting student academic success. She has an unwavering belief in the greatness of our children and can achieve when provided with guidance, respect, reasons for joy, and care. Along with being a first-year principal, Connie is a mentor and justice advocate. She focuses on the societal impact of the following issues: the school-to-prison pipeline, societal, academic, and systemic obstacles faced by youth and adults, including sharing info regarding the science of the brain, culturally deficient instruction and teacher training, and many other issues that bolster youth incarceration. She is a member of the Grateford think tank and serves on the boards of 2 organizations focused on reducing the impact of incarceration on society and families. She's got so much more. I got a lot to read here, but I need to say she's the author of the interactive children's book, Khadijah the Rebel, Justice Always. So we'll talk more about that so that we can tell you how to get that book. But let me move on to Principal Esther Loor. Esther Loor is an accomplished educator of nearly 18 years. Her professional journey is one of dedication, hard work, unwavering commitment to student success. By the way, folks, hit the share button, retweet button, repost button, any of those buttons, or tag somebody, let them know we're here, we're live. Esther is serving her first year as principal of Franklin Elementary School in Summit, New Jersey. She is a strong advocate for equity and inclusion. Let me say that again. She's a strong advocate for equity and inclusion and works tirelessly to create a learning environment that is safe, welcoming, and supportive for all students. Having spent much of her childhood in California, Missouri, and Kentucky, and then moving to New Jersey in high school, Esther is passionate about inclusivity and representation in education. Oh man, there's so much here to read. There's so much more. Let me just read one more paragraph, Esther. Esther has been awarded grants for innovative technology integration ideas such as one-to-one student device usage long before wide-scale implementation in schools, and teaching kindergartners how to code using an off-screen device called, I hope I pronounce this right, Cubeto, before it gained popularity. Esther was invited to author an article for the Sound and Communication magazine, sharing her experience on remote and hybrid teaching in the spring and fall of 2020. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from Rutgers University and a master's degree in elementary ed from Rutgers Graduate School of Excellence. In addition, she earned her principal and supervisor certificates from the New Jersey Excel program. Anything that I missed in your bios that you feel is pertinent, just when we're talking, just throw it in there, right? All four of you. Let me keep going. Principal Nicole Hall is a principal in Willingboro Township School District here in Jersey. During her tenure as a school administrator with a focus on teacher training, professional development, social emotional health and wellness, academic enrichment, progress monitoring, PBIS, restorative practices, parental and community engagement, STEAM education, and test coordination. That's a lot. Hall's school also hosts a monthly mobile food distribution in which over 100 families receive nutritional meals and small household and personal care items. During her tenure as a teacher, Ms. Hall's students were often celebrated for outperforming their counterparts. She takes great pride in her professional as well as the blessing and daunting task of preparing students so that they may maximize their scholarly abilities and see themselves as intellectuals focused on overcoming the stereotypes of people who look like them and as often portrayed in the media. Let me read one more paragraph here. It's so much here to read. Let me just go with one more. Ms. Hall attended Kane University, which is where I also went, and earned a bachelor's degree in English with 2 teaching certificates in English and special education. She graduated magna cum laude with a master's degree in educational leadership and with a principal and supervision certification. Hall is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and was initiated in the Delta Zeta chapter at Kane University citywide chapter. I might add, her next goal is to earn a PhD in literacy and specialize in the impact literacy has on African American males and the role it plays in circumventing the school to prison pipeline. Last one, Ginny, Principal Ginny Liang. Man, it's a long one, y'all. I'm gonna do like 2 paragraphs, Ginny. Here we go. Miss Ginny Liang has been in education for 19 years. She is originally from Taiwan, ROC. For the past 33 years, the United States has been her home and now lives in Stafford, Texas. Ms. Liang holds a bachelor's degree in business management and a master's degree in curriculum and instruction and reading specialist. Principal Liang is the founding principal. Hear this, y'all. The founding principal of Stafford STEM Magnet Academy in Stafford Municipal School District, Stafford, Texas. I want to say it again to inspire somebody out there that may be watching. The founding principal. I can't tell you how many times people ask me, "Come on, Kafele, let's open up a school. Open up a school. Let's do it." I'm like, man, I don't know. But anyway, the experience of being a founding member comes from her participation as one of the founding administrators in the opening of the International Leadership of Texas West Park K-8 charter school. Her role was instrumental in recruiting 1,400 students and 125 staff. Ms. Liang, Principal Liang, served as an assistant principal for 5 years at ILT, International Leadership of Texas. One more paragraph. Another valuable part of Principal Liang's professional growth was gained through her work as the magnet coordinator at Houston Independent School District's Mandarin Immersion Magnet School. In the years Principal Liang served there, she helped recruit approximately 1,000. As an instructional leader, her goal was to improve student growth and success and the best research-based instructional practices. She was invited to present her research project, Balanced Literacy in Dual Language Immersion Environment, at the National Chinese Language Conference in April 2015, Atlanta, Georgia. There's so much more, folks, but I got to get to this conversation now. But you all got a sense of who's on here. Everybody got some phenomenal backgrounds, man. I'm excited. Let's go, y'all. I got a question for you. Like I said to you off camera, this is just for anybody. Just jump on in here as you feel fit. Looking back on your year, and Ginny, we're just treated as a second year. So looking back on this year, has the principalship been what you expected it to be as you're coming to the close of this year, particularly with the 3 first-year principals? Is when here you were, oh man, I want to get into this position. Oh man, I want this principalship, and then you got it, and then you went through a whole year. We're not quite at the finish line, but we're getting there. Is it what you expected it to be? Anybody jumping in on that?
Yes, I could say yes and no. Well, when I say yes, means that I really feel huge satisfaction, because compared to last year when I opened a brand new school, this year we have developed so much better system in place and make a huge connection with the parents. I had a coffee with the principals. I also, each month, with the parents, and I also have the cultural diversity awareness and meeting with the parents. So this year, I think we have developed a much better system compared last year. And when I say no, is that continue. Every day is a new day. You have all the challenges and the reward, and you have up and down every day. So we continue to develop the best school we can.
I love it. Anybody else want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's everything I thought it was going to be and more. I feel very fortunate and blessed to have landed in a school with an amazing staff. The front office team between the administrative assistant, school nurse, school counselor, like we're a solid team. We get each other. And, when everyone on the team is doing what they're supposed to and above and beyond, really, it just makes everything run smoother. So it's everything I wanted and more. And I'm really excited for year 2.
I love it. Anybody else?
I would say yes and no, as Ginny said. Yes, because it's everything that I wanted. I have an amazing staff. I feel very supported. However, some of the challenges that I have faced as a first-year principal were not necessarily planned for, but we were able to rise to the challenge and address them.
Yeah.
Rise to the challenge and address them. Yeah, good stuff.
So I am still in my first year. I began the day before the students. So that was a huge undertaking, and that I did not have the opportunity or the privilege of summer planning. So I came in and literally hit the ground running. I would say it's not everything that I thought it would be, and not in a negative way. It's just that the assistant principal role and the principal role are two completely different sorts of roles. And coming in the way in which I came, I began the year operating like an assistant principal. So I was in it, and I didn't spend the time initially stepping back and watching things. I was in it, like the kids came in the next day. So we were, getting the kids organized and making sure they're getting to their classes and things of that nature. And I have an amazing interim superintendent. And Dr. Malcolm X Outlaw, he just pulled me to the back and he said, Hall, you're not an assistant principal. Yeah. He said, you have to operate like the principal. And I'm like, okay, Dr. Outlaw, but I just got here and we have X, Y, and Z to do. And he was like, but you're not an assistant principal. You have assistant principals. You have to utilize your staff. So it's been a growing experience, and I'm so grateful that I have experience and I have a superintendent, my interim superintendent, Dr. Outlaw, as well as the other staff in the administration, which have been extremely supportive entering it. I'm looking forward to getting where The rest of you are, so that way we can have some time for summer planning. And we have began to create teams and having different people who identify themselves as showing interest, as well as sending out inquiries asking, oh, are you interested in this committee? Are you interested in summer planning? Things of that nature. So that way next year we can have a smoother opening. But it has been a transition. But it is everything I have wanted. I will say that.
I love it. I want to go back to something you just said, Nicole. When your superior, you said it was assistant superintendent. They said
no, he's our interim superintendent.
Interim superintendent. It's very easy, and this is just to reinforce what you just said for the audience. It's very easy to go and transition into a principalship and still operate and think as an AP if one doesn't catch oneself, right? Now, in a perfect world, that AP is actually functioning as a principal to an extent because of the exposure. But the world is not always perfect. So we're in these little traditional assistant principal roles, but then here we become this principal, and the buck now stops with us. And we got to be mindful of that in this new position. And that as that AP, the buck doesn't stop with you. There's accountability with you, but the buck stops with that principal. So I'm just hollering at someone out there, just to reinforce what Nicole just said. They're not the same position.
No, I say that all the time, and probably get on my team's nerves as much as I say that. Y'all get tired of my questions, but everything falls on me. So
keep on asking them questions because they matter. They matter. Let me jump into it now, Connie. Let me start with you. Of all the things that you potentially could have done with your life, professionally or even within the realm of education, there's a lot of directions you could have gone, but you chose the one which I would call the most complex, and I'm putting this over the superintendent, the principalship, because that principal is in the building with the lives, right? The superintendent, yeah, it's a complex position, but that person's not working directly with young people, right? And the staff that teach them. You chose this very complex, very complicated position, but very rewarding. My question to you is why? Why did you choose to be a principal?
I felt like I had no choice. From the age of 9, my educational trajectory, what I faced as a young person, watching my father have to be my advocate in order for me to receive the education that I deserve. Working with adults who sometimes don't move in ways that are in the best interest of children, serving under great principals. So I feel like my combination of 30 years put me in this place. It's not by happenstance or choice. I had to be here because of who I am.
I love it. I love it. Let me go to Esther on the same question. Esther, why the principalship?
It's kind of funny because I didn't grow up wanting to be a teacher. Education wasn't the master plan. I actually went to college for psychology to be a therapist, family therapy. But I've always worked with children my whole life, from running Sunday school in my father's church to tutoring and babysitting and working in daycares. And then it just, midway through college, my mom was like, what are you going to do? And I remember standing in the parking lot of my brother's middle school in Ridgewood. And I was like looking up at the school. I'm like, duh, it's been in front of my face this entire time. I need to be a teacher. And went through grad school. And as I was coming out of grad school, I felt like maybe down the road, I knew going into the classroom that the classroom was not where I was going to retire from, that somehow the path was going to lead me to leadership at some point. But I knew that I wanted to have the experience. I wanted to walk the walk for many years in multiple grade levels and districts to be able to speak to a lot of what I have spoken to this past year in post-observation conferences. And then that leadership going into the principalship was just kind of like the natural next step. I guess my father passed away over 10 years ago, and he was a pastor for most of his adult life. And I didn't realize how much I was like him until I became an assistant principal and a principal this past year that I'm more like my father than I thought.
I love it. I love it. Nicole, same question.
Well, mine stems back to my early experience in the household. My mom acquired custody of my cousin, who was 3 years old at the time, and they were struggling with the diagnosis because they weren't exactly sure what was going on, but he was progressing, and then he began to regress. We later found out that he was autistic. And in the process of screening, I recall having conversation. Well, of course, being there and listening, right? Hearing the doctor say, "Well, we're going to assess him because he may be deaf." And I remember playing with the little toy, and you would pull the arm, and it would go around. So the cow says "moo," and and he enjoyed this toy, and I would play with him all the time. So I took the toy one day, and I was like, I don't think he's deaf. And I pulled it, and I was like, do you want the toy? And he was there, but he was nonverbal. And I would say, you have to pull the lever, because he would want me to do it. I said, you would have to pull the lever. And I didn't say it, but I did not demonstrate it, but I showed him the toy, and I said, you have to pull the lever. And in that time, he was reaching for it. He put my hand up to it. He wanted me to do it. Said, no, you have to pull the lever. And he pulled it. And I just went back to my mom. I said, Mom, he's not deaf. And at 10 years old, in a traditional African-American household, you are not going and informing your parents of certain things. You are going to stay in the child's place. But I was just like, Mom, he's not deaf. He's not deaf. I know he's not. And later on, they went back after some assessments, and the doctor said, no, he's not deaf. And in that moment, I was like, I think, because in working with him on this very simple thing, on this toy, and trying to get him to learn, someone who was in some ways being written off, not in this instance, but just as seeing more and more of his experience as he was being diagnosed as autistic. There was a lot of conversation about what he couldn't do, and not really any emphasis on what he could. So I wanted to be able to go into education, and I started in the classroom. I love the classroom, but in experiencing the success that my students were, and then seeing some of their cohorts who were right across the hallway, in another class, not having the same success. I wanted to be able to impact change on a larger scale. So I said, I'm not sure if I can do that in the classroom. Let me see if I can do it as a supervisor. Let me see if I can do it as a principal. And that's how I've come to this place today.
I love that response. Before I go to you, Ginny, I want to stay with you again, right? Hey, somebody out there in this audience this morning, or someone who will watch the video later on, particularly those of you in year one, or those of you who are striving to get to year one. Principal Hall didn't say this. I'm just always thinking about the audience, that you may go in there with certain intentions in that first year, and you may find that those intentions do not become a part of your reality. They do not come to fruition because the work can be so overwhelming. But don't throw up your hands just yet. Don't throw in the towel just yet, because it gets better. You have to learn the position. You have to learn the school. You got to learn the staff. You got to learn the students. You got to learn central office. You got to learn the community. You got to learn leadership. You got to learn yourself. And as you learn these things, you'll find that those things you imagine you could do, you will do. Don't lose that. Thank you for that, Principal Hall, because I would have not have said that today because it wasn't on my radar, right? So thank you for that. Hey, Ginny, same question. Why the principalship?
I was inspired by my aunt, who was a principal for 12 years in a very prestigious international school. I was really inspired by her. And the school was kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. All the grade levels. So it was amazing. And so I had that dream since I was young, and entering in education, and I started to feel the impact of create a positive impact to our students and families. So I continue to dream to develop higher level leadership skill and knowledges, and so continue to impact the students not only in their academic success, but also in their characters, mental, emotional, social growth. as well.
I love it. I love it. The three of you, and let me get this off the screen here. Three of you, Principal Hall, Principal Loor, and Principal Grier are wrapping up your first year, and Principal Liang, your second year. So I say you all, the three of you are seasoned veterans, seasoned educators, but babies in the principalship. So with that said, my question to you, and I want to start with you, Esther. What did you learn, if anything, about leadership this year in terms of your experience that you may not have known going into this position at the start of the school year?
I think because of my position as an AP, and I was a shared AP in 4 buildings, that I didn't really have the parent contact as much as I do this year. And that buck stops with you. The first stop is always the communication through the teacher, and then it's me. And what I've learned is navigating those conversations with parents. That you are kind of that advocate for your staff and getting that input from them, but also understanding that this is someone's baby and this is their child, and that's their world that they're looking at. And we're looking at kind of more the macrocosm of a school, and where does that child fall in the spectrum, and having those honest conversations with the parents.
I love that. I love that. So that whole parent piece, that makes a heck of a lot of sense when you think about the AP role versus the principal role, and that accountability that rests on our shoulders. Now I got to make sure the parents are engaged, and I got to know how to engage with them. Right? Good stuff. Let's go to Nicole on the same question. What you learn about leadership that you may not have known prior to this position?
Something that I learned and I'm still learning is the importance and significance of and effective ways to communicate with families. Communication is the key. Parents want to know what's going on. Parents want to be involved in what's going on in their child's lives. We have had some excellent school and community engagement opportunities in our literacy fair. The day of our literacy fair, we had some workshops. We had someone, one of our school counselor, in a partnership with First Children. She hosted a workshop on using journaling for social emotional health and wellness. We had the book fair. We also had a mom and daughter duo, Say the author, and her daughter, Hannah Williams. They came in and talked about how you can encourage and influence writing in a home. And we also had a wax museum of students who performed different bios or monologues based on the person that they were representing. One of our school is named after James A. Cotton, a Tuskegee Airman, and also a longtime resident of Willingboro, New Jersey. So we had his family was there. And we had a student who did a monologue on him. We shared this information out with the community, and they showed up. We had about 400 people in the building that evening. So this is tremendous for us, because for something where we're promoting literacy and we're promoting our students and the things that they are engaging in, showcasing our clubs and what we're doing with these resources that we're utilizing to pay for clubs, to pay for activities, showing people like this is what we have to showcase. And we had 400 people in the building. We were proud to do that. So I would say that I'm continuously working on, okay, how can I better streamline communication with the community as well as our family partners?
As Corinne just said, outstanding stuff. Outstanding. Ginny, same. Yeah, absolutely. Ginny, same question. What'd you learn about leadership over the course, let's say your 2 years, that you may not have known going in?
I would say be responsible for everything has to happen in the building, and be responsible for everything fail to happen in the building. So this is very different compared to being assistant principal, and also building relationship with all the stakeholders, like students, families, and teachers, and the community members, and the school district, personnel and the board, school board, and the city council members. So building relationship and the media as well. So this open up the whole community stakeholder and support to the school. And I really want to say I'm really lucky to have such a great school district. The superintendent, Dr. Robert Bostic, has been really, really supported in our school district, and the chiefs and board members and the city council, and including the mayor, has been putting emphasis and putting lots of support to our school. So I really appreciate. This is the key for the school and the principal to be successful.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Connie, jump on in here.
So one of the things that I think I was the most terrified with last summer prior to starting this first year was the terror that comes with not having all the answers as the school leader.
Yeah.
I was terrified. But what I learned this year is that when you are honest, transparent, and when your key staff feel like they know your heart and they know who you are and what you really want, you can ask the questions. My assistant superintendent, Dr. Clay, is so amazingly supportive. She brought me to the school where I serve for a reason. And not only is she holding me accountable to that, but she's very supportive. I was not expecting the level of support that I received from that stakeholder. Wow. However, my in-house staff, I have amazing leaders that prior to beginning, I was afraid that coming into the building and not knowing the culture of the building, not knowing all of the answers to the particular questions, that it would make me look inexperienced and not capable, as opposed to just inexperienced. But my SBTLs, my assistant principal, my nurse, my secretary, my building engineer, my cafeteria folk, everyone has just welcomed me with not only open arms, but expecting and responding to my questions, not as if I was not capable, but just not having the knowledge. I think that's two different things. And I'm so blessed to have the experience that I've had this year.
I love everything you just said. And I just want to say too, because we, in terms of people that tune in, it's not just APs and aspiring folks. There are principals on here. I know that directors, supervisors, and assistant superintendents watch. And I also know that there's some superintendents that watch. So I want to say to those folks, you heard what Principal Connie Grier just said, right? Because it's easy to lose sight of the fact that there are people at the building level, first year, second year, third year, 10th year, that need support. So if you're on here right now and you're just checking this out, learn from even the young ones. And as Principal Connie Grier just said, she's grateful, thankful for that support. But there could be a principal somewhere else saying, I wish I had what Principal Connie Grier had. I'm a first year principal and I'm swimming. I'm by myself. I don't know what's going on. I need help of people who have done this work already. Right. So always keep that in mind to those folks who are in those positions. They may not seek out the help because they may not feel it's politically correct to ask you or tell you that they're drowning, they're sinking, that they have a zillion questions. You got to anticipate that. You got to go to them schools and you got to be there for them to help them to get to where it is that they want to be. So I'm glad you said that. I just wanted to throw that out here. So that question, when I wrote that question last night on the plane, I thought of another question that kind of coincides with it. And I personalized this one and I said, I think I'm gonna share this with you. So I just asked you what you learned about leadership being in that position for the first year for the three of you and 2 years for the other. But now I want to ask it to you this way. What did you learn about yourself over the course of being a principal in 1 year or 2 years? And I want to start that with Nicole.
Well, I have learned that I am resilient, and in so many ways has this manifested in my life before. Just my resiliency and fortitude, tenacity, if you would. It takes all of it and some to juggle, because like my colleagues have said here online, it all falls on you. So like Principal Connie Grier said, when you ask those questions, you need the answers, because when someone comes to you, you cannot look like this is the first time you're hearing about it. I need to go into the situation informed, and that's you protect me by informing me so I can protect you. So it has, I have learned a lot about my ability to manage and maintain. Coming into the position, like I said, hitting the ground running the day before the students. I had that day to meet with the staff and, try to get acquainted and start building a rapport and a relationship. And the various things and ways in which you are stretched as an administrator. You're required, and as an assistant principal, I was responsible for X, Y, and Z department, be it the math department and maybe some things. And sometimes I was required to manage culture and climate. Sometimes I was not. So it's departmentalized when you are working in the capacity of an AP. But when you are coming into the principal role, you are responsible for it all. So in the morning when you come in, you are walking the building. You are making sure that everything is proper and in its place. You are checking the bathrooms to make sure that they are clean and orderly, and that there isn't any graffiti up there. And if so, you're making the proper next steps to having it removed. So you are responsible for it all. And then on top of it, you're responsible for your home life. Be it children, pet, what have you. So I've learned a lot about my resiliency and my tenacity, fortitude, if you would, but I've also learned a lot about self-care, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's right.
So I have been very intentional as of late with taking care of myself, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and making sure that I pour back into myself, because on a daily basis, I'm pouring into other people. I'm pouring into children. I'm pouring into my own children. I'm pouring into the staff that come in and they work diligently and give their all because they have bought into the vision, and just being grateful and feeling blessed to be able to work with such people. Like, God, you sent me what I needed. You sent me what I needed to do this job, because it is not an easy feat. So I have learned a lot about my resilience, as well as making sure that I maintain that by managing self-care.
I love it. You learned about your resilience. Before I go to you, Ginny, to the audience, what about you? Just thinking about the course of the past years, not over yet, but we're getting closer to the finish line. The southern states, we just about there, right? But what have you learned about yourself this year? And what will you do with that in which you learned about you? Hey, Ginny, what about you? What'd you learn about yourself over these past 2 years?
Yeah, as an assistant, at the time of last year when I was a principal, then I learned, even this year, I feel the same thing. And I'm not perfect. I may not develop all the character traits that the leadership should have. So that's why I learned I lead with my strengths. I identified my strengths, like a commitment, perseverance, all those strengths that have, may allowed me to build a relationship and to be able to manage and lead the campus. So I will still encourage all the assistant principal to continue to find the inventory of your personal strengths. So this way you can using all your strength to lead the new campus.
Love it. Love it. Hit that share button, folks. Hit that retweet. Let them know we are here. We are live in week 159 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Connie, what do you think? What'd you learn about yourself?
So before I answer that, I just want to say, Nicole, you made me smile when you spoke about self-care, because I have an AP who is very intentional about reminding everyone around her that you have to take care of yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So thank you for sharing that message.
No.
What I've learned about myself, I've learned that I wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to this job. I'm very emotional. I can be obstinate when I feel that there is something that I feel that my scholars or my staff need and require, and I want it for them. However, I also learned that I am always willing to listen. I have deans, and my deans do not serve in a traditional disciplinarian role as deans solely. That's not how our deans operate. They are thought partners. They are guides for young people. They are just, not disciplinarians. Learning more about that role, listening to them when they have, ideas. Like I said, all of the stakeholders in the building, they all have a commitment and a passion about what they do. I come with my own commitment and passion. Those commitments and passions have to mesh. They cannot be at loggerheads with one another, or else we're not going to be able to move the building forward. So this year, I have definitely learned that I can be obstinate, but I also can be open to listen and change course when necessary.
Yeah, that's good. So you can listen. That listening, that's not easy all the time, right? That's a skill. It's nothing. I learned, that's one of the things I learned about myself, that I have to be a better listener, right? In order to just really hear what somebody is trying to convey, either to me or to whomever. Great stuff. Esther, bring us home. What'd you learn about yourself?
So, you shared a little bit in my bio that I moved a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So elementary school from Cali to Missouri, middle school from Missouri to Kentucky, high school from Kentucky to New Jersey. So there was a lot of change. And even in my education career, I've been working two as a teacher and then two as an administrator. And what I realized about myself is that difference between fitting in, making yourself fit into what is currently there versus feeling like you belong. And I didn't realize how deeply I felt that need to belong somewhere. Coming from my prior role to this, I was in a different building every day. I didn't really feel like I was part of any one building because I had to be somewhere different. And here, got to settle into one building, one staff, get to know the students at a deeper level, which I really missed. Like, I didn't leave the classroom because I was over teaching and, I wanted to get into leadership. I love the classroom. I love the students. And what I learned about this belonging piece for me is it has to happen in a place where you feel that you can be your most authentic self.
Yeah.
Like, this is me. There is no other Esther. What you see is what you get. And when you belong somewhere, they absolutely valid. And so I want to do that same feeling. I want to give that same feeling to my staff and my students and my families, that you belong here, that you're important, that I want you here. I want to say hi to you every morning. And, I just have to echo what Nicole and Connie were saying and Ginny was saying about central office staff. Just so supportive. My superintendent, Mr. Huff, central office directors, Dr. Marr and Dr. Cordero, my EP colleagues. In a day, I can pick up the phone and call any one of them, and no question is stupid. No question is going to make me look like I don't know what I'm doing. And from the very beginning, I told myself, I don't have all the answers, but I'll find out. And that's kind of the only promise I can make you.
That whole idea of feeling welcome, feeling like one belongs, that's, in the kind of the line of work that I do as a presenter, that's at the core of my reality, right? It's something I can't get away from. And let me just give it this context, because I typically will transfer it to young people sitting in the classroom. I'm in a line of work as a presenter where if I'm going to speak somewhere, unless it's a conference, if it's a conference, that audience is there to hear you. Right? They paid their flight, their registration, their hotel, everything. They want to hear you. But if you're going into a school, they're forced to hear you. Right? Now you may have people in the audience who know your work, love your work, got your books, all that kind of, but you may not. You may be unfamiliar to everybody. So now I'm in these rooms and I'm asking myself sometimes, because I feel tension. Do I even belong here? Am I welcome here? Whereas I go to a conference and they all came to see me, well, you feel the difference. You feel the energy. You see the line of people that want to take a picture, all that kind of stuff, right? So I started thinking about children in that regard. And I said, man, what about that youngster that's sitting in a classroom and doesn't feel welcome nor feeling a sense of belonging in that room, but won't articulate it? And we think that there are these other issues going on that actually do not exist, The problem is, teacher, I just don't feel welcome here. I don't feel that I belong in this space. So therefore, leader out there watching right now, I'm just reinforcing for you to gauge through your teachers how the children feel as a result of being in that space, and not just the classroom, the cafeteria, the hallway, the playground, the gymnasium, the locker room, the auditorium during an assembly. All those common places and spaces can be very uncomfortable for a young person if your antennas are not up, engaging what it is that may be happening in terms of those undercurrents that could go on in any given school and classroom. So you know, your responses are just triggering a lot of things in me. I'm just getting them off my chest. You know, Ginny, transitioning from the AP position to the principal position, when you did the assistant principalship in any way adequately prepare you for the one-day principalship? And what I'm not asking of either of you, I'm not asking you about your principal AP relationship. I'm just asking about, so I'm not asking did the principal prepare you? I'm asking, did the assistant principalship prepare you for the challenges that you face today? Let's start with Ginny on this one.
Yes. When I was assistant principal, I helped open a brand new school at International Leadership Texas West Park campus with 1,400 students. At the time, I observed several administrators or principals, founding principals, who are not successful to open the brand new school. So I learned so much. And so that experience helped me to open the brand new school in here as a principal. I learned that to be reachable, to be accessible, and be proactive. So this experience, was very valuable for me to be successful founding principal at the time.
Very good.
And again, of course, when I talk about the school, I really appreciate our chief of schools, Dr. Dubose. When I was first year opened the brand new school, she provides, lots of support. And, I had a situation almost every day that I may not have experienced when I was assistant principal. So, so rely on my boss, Dr. Dubose's support. That's why I feel transitioning from assistant principal to the principal, the key is the support from the school district and from the building, from your team.
That support is so key. If I ever, which I doubt I will, but if I ever become a superintendent, that support is going to be a major priority for particularly the principals and the assistant principals in that district, who are those foot soldiers in that district. Connie, same question. Did that assistant principalship benefit you?
While the accountability is ratcheted up as a principal, I do feel that the assistant principalship helped to prepare me. It could be because of the particular schools, where I served. I was able to, get experience that I needed that help to prepare me for my current role. I'm pretty much the same person with larger responsibility and accountability. So I definitely feel like the AP position prepared me for the place where I am now.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's go to Esther.
So yes and no. So from the yes perspective, being an AP and having the added responsibility of evaluation and observations, that was a large part of my role being in 4 buildings. I wasn't as involved with the traditional disciplinarian role that APs usually get. So that piece of it really helped me to hone the way I give feedback, how that sounds, the same feedback that I would give to a colleague, we would be in each other's classrooms all the time, lands differently when it's coming from an administrator. And I learned that and how to change the way that my tone, the way I lead into some of the feedback, being very explicit about what I see. So that helped from that perspective. Just seeing the facilities management portion of it as an AP in 4 buildings. So getting to be exponentially exposed to 4 different leaders, very different leadership styles. The staff culture in each of the buildings was also very different. So I felt like I was just exponentially exposed to that aspect of leadership. But I really feel like the success that I've had this past year, according to everybody that's been giving me feedback, has been really based on my 15 years prior to that in the classroom. Being in multiple grade levels, having ran parent workshops and met with families and run PD for my colleagues, like all of those collective experiences have helped transition from teacher to AP to principal.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Bring us home, Nicole.
Definitely. I was placed in a space in the various places I've been an assistant principal, which have equipped me with knowing the various things that you have to know. Like I said, in pockets to be able to manage now as a principal. So now I'm giving, the coaching and the advice and training staff on how to manage testing, how to manage the conversation or have that crucial conversation when you're providing feedback on an evaluation, because I've done it and I've seen it. I've had been in the place where I've had principals push me and tell me like, yes, do this, or, simply say, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. And I'll say, yes, absolutely. Because that's kind of how I fell into administration, if you would. I was in school, but I was in the classroom. And one summer, we were approaching summer, and my supervisor said, you're going to be the dean for summer school. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And she said, I know you're in school studying for your administrative certification. This will help you to get the experience with students outside of academics. And I was like, all right, okay, I'll go for it. Whatever they told me, I was just that type of person. If you needed me to do something, or if you wanted me to do something, I would do it. So I did it, and that led to other opportunities. That led to an assistant principal position, which led to, before being an assistant principal or lead educator in the city of Camden, I was an academic dean and a culture climate specialist in Willingboro. So that led to something else, which led to now the principal position. So it definitely has equipped me in various ways to become a principal.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Corin Aura Bell Warren, I appreciate you acknowledging the diversity of this panel. And I probably could have diversified it even more. But the good thing is I'm still a young man, and I got a whole lot of time to even be more diverse. But I appreciate you saying that, Corin, because I want you and others to particularly hear these next couple of questions, because we're getting ready to ratchet it up a little bit. I got four women principals on the call this morning. It's very intentional, and I got a 2-parter. I want to talk to you about being women in leadership, but I also want to talk to you about being women of color in leadership. But I want to distinguish those 2 questions. So right now, with this first one, I just want to ask you, being a woman in leadership, and I've had a more of these conversations that I can count with just women across the country in terms of some of the challenges of being a woman in leadership. And again, I'm not ready to talk about women of color yet, so just woman. What are some of the challenges of being a woman in leadership? And let me say this to you before you respond, starting off with Esther. As I said off camera, as I say to all my guests, I'm mindful that my guests go back to work on Monday morning. So, as far as your answer, feel free to either give me a generic answer, or if you want to personalize it, that's up to you. But I'm not asking that you do that. That's your decision. So, what are some of the challenges, particularly for some of the folks who are watching this morning or who will see it later on, who are women and they want to go into leadership, but don't realize what some of the challenges are toward being a woman in school leadership? Talk to us, Esther.
Oh, okay. So I think that this is general and also applies to me specifically. I'm a mother. of 2 young children. So I got this whole other life at home as well.
Mhm.
And as the responsibilities of leadership grow, that balance of having a full-time job and then a full-time job when you get home is, I
Yeah.
think, one of the most difficult things as a working woman and as a woman going up, in the leadership chain, of how do you balance that? And when you are the manager of your building and then you are the manager of your home building as well,
Yeah.
the kids' activities and the dentist appointments, of which my husband is at right now with our 2 children, because I'm on here with you guys.
I appreciate
It's a lot. It's a lot of working parts, and I think that is, there was that statistic that came out during the pandemic of more women left the workplace to be home with their children because there was no in-person instruction, and it seems like that set women back in the workplace just in that 1 year of taking on that responsibility of being home, for being the primary caregiver. Now, I know that's not true across the board, and there are many men, husbands, dads, partners who are there like 50-50, but there is something to be said about women in leadership and also having that increased responsibility at home.
I love it. Good stuff, Nicole. Jump on in here.
In my experience at this point, I have more years of experience in administration than I did in the classroom. So I'm a little administration heavy in my experience, my career experience. And I would just say, don't allow anyone else to write your narrative. I mean, if this is where you are, and considering those things, like Esther said, right, you have your full-time job as an administrator, as someone who's operating a building, someone who's responsible for almost 1,000 people or over 1,000 people every day. And then you have your real job, which is at home, caring for your family, providing meals, making it a home. Don't allow anyone else to write your narrative. If that's where you are, do it. In my experience, I've had, people who are very supportive and said things like, yes, go for it. Then I've had people said, no, your family's too young. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, no, I don't think that should be something that should hold me back. Like, have your community, build it, because you will need it, but move forward with whatever you want. Like I said, do not allow anyone else to write your narrative. Don't allow anyone to shape the trajectory of your story and where you are supposed to be. If you feel it in you to move forward in this way, go for it. The sky's the limit. Because at the end of the day, all you could do is live with regrets. And it's not like Ginny said earlier, I'm not perfect, not at all. So there are some days where we're late, but I'm a mom of 1, my son, and a great aunt of 2, Harmony and Kaimani, and my son, Marquez Ajate. And one morning, because we always reflect, and at this point, my kids ask me sometimes, well, how was your day? And I was like, you know what? I learned grace today. I learned grace. So I'm not like, oh my God, we're running late. The baby has an explosive diaper and you have to change your outfit because you had to manage it. Like, this is real life stuff. It has happened this year. But I told my niece, I was like, you know what? I learned grace. And she was like, what is that? I was like, I had to forgive myself for not being on time for work and for pushing myself a little too hard. And I told myself it was going to be okay. The building is covered. I've communicated with everyone I need to communicate with, and I'm going to get to work, and I'll do whatever it is that I need to do in order to, to catch up on where I am. And everything is going to be fine. She said, oh, okay. And having that conversation with her, now she's talking about grace. This 8-year-old going around talking about giving herself grace. So, all of that, all of these imperfections in this journey is what makes it perfect. So shape your own narrative. Don't allow anyone to tell you that you don't belong in this space, that you're too young. Like, no, at the end of the day, I attained the position because I was the best candidate for it. And thus
Yes.
I wasn't interrupting you.
Yeah.
I am here. And I'm going to do the job because I can, and I'm going to juggle this thing called life, and I'm going to care for myself, and my students are going to excel as a result of it, as well as my children. So write your own narrative and walk in your purpose.
Look, y'all, I'm talking to the audience, man. you heard what Principal Hall said. I'm talking to you men out there too, right? She said, write your own narrative. I'm looking right in the camera on this one. She said, don't allow others to write your narrative. And you know there's people out here in the world. It could be someone on this call right now. There's someone else is writing your narrative. Someone's telling you how to dress. Someone's telling you how to wear your hair. Someone's telling you how to be. Right? I mean, look, people that know me here in Jersey and New York City, I guess, they know I wrote mine, man. Now, did I get in trouble? Yeah, I got in trouble. But I could look in my mirror when I got home. I could look at my wife when I got home. I could look at my kids when I got home and said, I'm just being my authentic self. Now, I'm not going to sabotage my work, although I'm sure there are people out here saying, nah, you were sabotaging your work. But the bottom line is I still landed on my feet. That's the bottom line, y'all. I'm just saying, I'm just repeating what every time Principal Hall keep on saying stuff that make me go off. I'm trying to stay calm, right? So because some people on this thread know I could take something someone said and go off, and the whole block will hear me. So I'm trying to stay calm. I'll just say, write your own narrative and don't let others write your story for you. Let's go. Where we at? Let me get back to my notes here, man. Hey, Jenny, what are some of them challenges of being a woman, a woman in leadership?
I think in educational field that we do find lots of female leaders in current educational environment. So in my school district, we do have a lot of female leaders. I don't feel any difference. The only thing that I had experience with is to interact the teachers or parents might be different. For example, I have been a teacher for 9 years. For the past 9 years, I had experience working with the teachers who came from main dominant society or country. And the teacher interacted with me in different interaction with the principal or males and teachers. So my experience is that you just have to stay calm and be strong and be professional. Again, we are not perfect. We are learning every day, but we are very professional to support and guide the teachers.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Connie, what do you think?
So I think that for in terms of being a leader and being a woman, a lot of people look at your decisions and your choices and think that they're coming from a place of softness or feminineness or coddling. I'm very justice centered and justice oriented, especially when it comes to scholars, because like I like to say, scholars don't have unions. So who's looking out for the kids? And so the decisions that I make come from my passion around justice. It's not coming from, a place of love and sweetness in so much as I am a person who is sweet, but it ain't sweet. I'm sweet, but it ain't sweet. And so sometimes people get confused and it's, well, you're just saying this because you're a woman, a female, soft. It's not about being soft. Love is one of the most courageous things that you can have for young people. Love these young people.
Yeah.
It's not about being soft. It's not about I'm loving them because I'm a woman school leader. I love them because love is justice. And I think that working with some folks, they get it twisted. And, I have to do my best to adjust their thinking because I'm not adjusting mine.
I love it.
Me too.
Yeah. No, that's strong stuff. Let me look at the other side of this now. Each of you are women, but you're women of color. And, I was a man, but I was a man of color. And I know that had implications. I know it has implications for what I do as a presenter, as what I do as a consultant. I know that is a part of what's in the room, so to speak. So once again, I'm gonna leave it up to you as to whether or not you want to be generic or if you want to personalize it. That's on you. But Nicole, what are some of the challenges of being a woman of color? And let me be very specific on this call. Now we're talking about 2 Black women. We're talking about Principal Loor as being of Korean descent, and we're talking about Principal Liang of being of Taiwan descent. And here we are, these 4 women of color, and you have your own experiences of being such. What may some of those challenges be as being, and I'm gonna be specific here with you, Nicole, a Black woman principal?
Sometimes you walk into a position and you automatically get some preconceived notions that that precede you. So when you walk into the room, you are, I've had people have conversations, even on a teacher level, where they were trying to emphasize something and they would be funny and then do one of these. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't conduct myself that way. I can communicate efficiently and effectively. Because stereotypes begin to manifest themselves. And then when you get into a leadership capacity and now you are the boss of some of the same people who think that this is the only way you can have a conversation, it comes out in other ways. Like they'll talk about their 30 years of experience in the field, and then I would retract and say, well, let's have conversation about these 30 years of experience and how we have kept up to date with research and how we're current in implementing that in our classroom today. Because if we are only working on the experience that we attained from the inception of our career 30 years ago, then we're outdated 3 times because research outdates itself every 10 years. So just making sure that people, when I show up and I show what I have to offer. And unfortunately, I believe that is what we have to do. And I don't want to speak for everyone on the panel, but in a lot of different spaces where I have been, I had to show up and prove that this is what I'm capable of. However, in the stance where I am now, I have decided not to worry about proving it anymore. I am here for a reason and for a purpose. And as I stated before, like, and it's kind of hard to say it, but, sometimes I feel that in this space, and I'm not talking about my current position, but I'm just talking about being a woman in leadership, period. Sometimes you are seen as a diversity hire. Oh, they only hire her because she's a woman. They only hire her because she's Black. They only wanted a Black woman for the position. So the best thing you can do is show up and show out. So when I go into it, I give my all. I create partnerships with whoever is willing to partner with me, Black, brown, what have you. If we are here for the same reason, let's do it. And so Principal Grier's stance, that idea or the ideology that, oh, I'm making these decisions because I'm soft, or I'm making these decisions because I'm Black. Like, no, let's look at the statistics of how we're suspending, or our stance on what type of discipline students should receive, and let's look at their commonalities. Like, I'm not making this decision because I'm Black. I'm making this decision because it's the right decision to make. As well as just jumping back a little bit when we talked about having the students in the classrooms and that building that relationship and that rapport, having understanding, or them expressing, talking about needing to belong, them expressing how they feel shunned and not related to or belonging, that not always presenting itself as in a passive way, but sometimes presenting itself in a way that's deemed disruptive or inappropriate. So with all of these things in mind, I certainly believe that in these spaces, when these things occur, the best thing you can do is just show up. Show up and show out, because the data does not lie. And when individuals begin to talk about this, oh, well, she was hired. No, let's look at my data and let's compare it to some of the data and the outcomes in this department. and we'll talk about the differences.
Mm-hmm.
And if your data matches mine, then we'll consider implementing some of the things that you are suggesting. And where's the research to support that this is effective?
Yeah.
If not, let's consider mine, and then we'll take my data into consideration, and I will show you the research that supports it, and then we'll move forward with implementation.
Strong stuff, good stuff. Let me just put something on the screen. I want to respond real quick. This is XFELV. I think you need to have an Hispanic point of view if you are talking about women of color. I want to say to you, sir, or ma'am, whichever one it is, we've had Latino women on here, and you just got to go back to the channel, Virtual AP Leadership Academy, and we have more lined up to come on. But you got to scroll back and check out some of those interviews. I mean, this is 159 weeks. We got a little bit of everything on here, right? So I've never seen you before, so that's why I wanted to talk to you. Wanted to holler at you real quick. Just go to the channel when we're finished and scroll, and you'll see some of the past guests we've had. We've had about 80 different guests on here over the past 3 years. Good stuff. And again, I'm not asking you all to be personal unless you want to be. But what are your thoughts going to Ginny now? What are some of those challenges of being a woman of color in school leadership?
When I was a classroom teacher, I was the only Asian American teacher on the entire campus. When I was in Traitors, I was the only Traitors in the entire school district. And so it's a very unique experience. I always try to work very, very hard to be able to be identified or recognized. And I think that my skills, my work, and my ability will really benefit all the students and staff and the families. So coming as a principal, and I may experience some, I may have some experience that people may not understand me or may not understand where I'm coming from or my culture. But my goal is always to put the student at the center, the students' benefits first. Everything, all the decision making will be the best interest of the students and the families. So once the families, they see that the students have a high performing. For example, my school was identified as a TEA, which is Tax Education Agency Accountability rated A school. And so when all the students have such a great performance in academic, and they have such achievements in their extracurricular, and the school becomes stronger and the communication is getting well. And so and I believe that that showed that what I can offer, and my philosophy even to bring all the best Western from Western culture and Eastern culture, combine the best for all our students.
Love it, love it. Let me go to Connie.
As a leader of color and as a woman leader of color, I think for all of the years that I have been in the leadership role, not just this year, the decisions that you make are sometimes looked at not only as soft, as I said earlier, but as if you're making them only because you are a leader of color. And they're not taken into account of, no, these decisions are being made because they are the right thing to do. And we have a lot of ground to make up for historically. We have some mirror work to do, where we have to look in the mirror as teachers, as leaders, Black, white, brown. We have to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, have we done what is in the best interest of children more times than we have not? And we have a lot of folks that are resistant to doing that mirror work. A lot of folks are resistant. And again, this is all of the years, 10, 11 years now. A lot of folks are resistant to doing that mirror work. But I'm going to continue to do that mirror work because, again, scholars don't have unions. We're supposed to be moving in ways that are in the best interest of children. Hold scholars accountable, but do it with love and do it so that it is instructive and not punitive. And sometimes as a Black woman, decisions are challenged because it's looked like you're making a decision because you're Black or because you're a woman.
I love it. I love it. Let's go to Esther.
So this is a loaded question. I'm going to go back a little bit to just being a woman leader first.
Mhm.
You see those memes and things on Facebook and LinkedIn about, be that woman who would say your name in, or be that woman that would say, support each other in a room full of opportunity. Would you say my name in a room full of opportunity? Would I say your name in a room full of opportunity? Like, we need to support each other as women leaders as well, that this is not there's only so many positions and we're competing. Like, we can build a bigger table, not a taller wall, that piece of it. And then, are you in a circle that celebrates your good news? And if you're not, then you need to find a new circle, type of thing. So that first and foremost, just as women in leadership, I think is really important that we have each other's back. And now, as a woman of color, like, I have a very similar experience with Ginny in terms of, growing up in Missouri, I was like the only Asian kid for miles around, very, very white majority. And then in Kentucky, I actually lived close to Fort Knox Army base. So there was diversity there because of the Army base. So Black, white, Hawaiian, Mexican, you got pretty much everything, a little microcosm. The majority of my friends in middle school and the beginning of my high school experience were all Black. I lived in a neighborhood. And then I came to Ridgewood, New Jersey, and it's like, oh, this is different. How come there are so many Asian people? I've never in my life seen so many Asian people in America. So that experience really shaped where I went as a teacher. Again, I was a minority. I happened to have worked in a district and in a school where my very first administrator was a Black woman. Still keep in touch with her. She's a superintendent in New Jersey now. And that really shaped my view of women of color in leadership as well. Had a really nice, strong connection with her. And I feel like sometimes there is this pressure to be the representation of the whole of your race when you are put on the spotlight like this.
Yeah.
Like, you're the one that they're looking at. And if you don't, and that doesn't seem to apply to the majority, it applies to the minority, that you somehow now are this representation of everybody in your culture or your heritage. And if you fail, it's like a failure of the whole race. And it's such a false narrative, and it's an undue pressure that I think that we have to carry as women of color as well. I think the other piece of this too, as a woman leader and leadership and just diversity and equity and all of that piece of it, is what are the comments that are being said? I think someone in the comments had said the microaggressions and when you hear comments like, oh, they're trying to shove that diversity crap down your throat, or maybe they'd like you more if you were a little bit more submissive. It's like, oh, like, ow, ow, like, ow, that hurt. But you can't say that. You can't say that. And I think Principal Kafele, you were saying last week, like, you've been in spaces where it's been quiet, like no one's responded. And you're like, why are you not responding? It's like, because I can't.
Yeah.
Because I can't.
Yeah,
So
they can't. They feel
that's
like
all part of it.
I love it. Esther, I want to stay with you. We're in the month of May. This is Asian American Heritage Month. And I want to be fully transparent on this one. I was not aware of that until I started seeing the commercials, but someone reached out to me and asked me, they said, are you doing anything on your platform with Asian Americans for the month? And as you know, Esther, I put out a call, and here we met, not knowing you were familiar with my work already. Right. So now, so I learned something. And see, I'm I guess when you get to be my age, you just don't care what people think anymore. So I'm transparent with it. I learned something, and now I'm broadening what this academy is all about. Right. So with that, I want to ask you a question, and I'm gonna go to Ginny on the same question. What is the significance of Asian American Heritage Month from your vantage point? I'm not asking you to speak for everybody, just from your vantage point. Why does the month matter? And let me give you some context. within the African American community, there are some out here who say there's no longer a need for African American History Month or Black History Month. I oppose that. There's always going to be a need for it, even though the history is lifelong. But I still want to have that month of particular acute concentration, celebration, etc. And therefore, I'm a staunch proponent of African American or Black History Month, and I'll always be. Why is Asian American History or Heritage Month significant?
Because I feel seen. You know, for Asian Americans, especially, there is this narrative that we're this model minority, that we, you know, work hard, study hard, but we're quiet. And we don't speak out on matters of equity and inclusion, and you just go and you do, you know. And I think that growing up, I didn't really, you know, I just blended, and that sense of you gotta assimilate. Don't want kids to make fun of you at school for what you're eating or what you're wearing or how you look. You know, my first language was Korean. I grew up in, I started in LA. So I'm pretty sure my first grade class was probably a PSYOP class. My first grade teacher was Korean, and the aide in the classroom was a Latina woman. And I remember in part of the day, the teacher would take the Korean kids and we would learn the Korean alphabet, and the aide would take the Spanish kids and they would learn Spanish in school, public school. And then when I moved to California, to Kentucky and Missouri, that, you know, I like really felt the minority piece of it. But, you know, you're moving and you're in a new place. So you just want to blend the best you can. Like, you don't want to be seen. I was that kid who never raised their hand in school. I was super quiet, super shy. And I just tried to not bring attention to myself. Now, if you know me as an adult, you're like, what? Like, I'm the first one out there. I'm a major extrovert. I'm in your face about things, and I'll talk about religion, politics, whatever it is that's on your mind. I'll go there with you. And so having this month and growing up here, being born and raised in the United States, I learned the United States history. I don't know anything about South Korean history. I didn't learn that growing up. So, you know, even I haven't been back to Korea in 30 years since I was a kid. I don't belong there either. Like, I go and you're an American. Like, I stand out like a sore thumb. I speak Korean at home with my mom, but it's just, you know, home conversational things. So to have a Heritage Month that is an American, Asian American, like, that kind of speaks to maybe my experience of really not feeling like that you're kind of traversing two worlds. And I can't blend in here no matter how hard I try because of the way I look. And I don't quite belong in my mother's home country because I don't speak the language very well. I don't know that culture. I'm not from there. And it's just kind of dealing a little bit with and finding the community within. Ginny, you're probably maybe the fourth Asian American administrator I know that's out there. I don't know any. I have one other friend here in New Jersey that is the friend that I referred to you, Principal Kafele, and then there is another administrator in Summit who's also of Asian descent, and that's it. You know, that's it. And so yeah, just being seen, like, you're important here too.
Well, see, that's what makes me elated about the two of you being on with us this morning. This because at the end of the day, we're talking about children, right? And we want to make sure that children are blessed with the right experience, with the right people, etc. every day. And there's a population out there that we don't know about. And I want to make sure that I use this platform in a way that's diverse, but at the same time stays true to its purpose, and that is the assistant principal, right? So good stuff. Let me go to Ginny on the same question. Asian American Heritage Month. What's the significance of it for you?
For me, it's an opportunity to allow the people to understand Asian culture and also break some stereotyping perspectives. I think this is a great opportunity to be able to learn different culture. Just like in my school, we celebrate the Hispanic culture. We celebrate the Black History Month and Asian Heritage Month. This is an opportunity for people to recognize, and now in this global community, now we are interacting with so many countries and students, and this is a great way for our students to understand and grow a character trait of being able to tolerate inclusion and all those diversity members in the community.
Love it. Love it. Let me ask the four of you. Y'all good on time?
Yeah.
Because when I got four, it takes a little longer. So I see us going to the audience. I see us going to about 1 o'clock Eastern. So y'all hang in there with us, man. I got about four more questions to go. So hang in there with us. I just want to get it all recorded, and because I think this is great stuff that I want people to be able to refer to at any time. Esther, I want to go back to you. Your bio. It talks about equity. You were clearly, just based on what you wrote, someone who was deeply rooted into young people receiving equitable experiences in your school, in the classroom. So I want to ask you, to you, because if you've heard me before, you know that I say that there is no universal definition of equity. It all goes to who you ask. And if you got 25 people in a room and you ask each of them to write down a definition of equity, you'll probably get 25 different responses, and they may be very different from one another. I have my own definition, which I share on here regularly, and went on and wrote a book around the definition, the Equity and Social Justice Education 50. So that was equity through the lens of Principal Kafele. So with that said, Esther, what is equity, and how do you go about ensuring that your students are receiving an equitable learning experience?
I think it goes back to the fair is not equal kind of concept, that equity really comes down to what that child needs and what are the barriers that are in their way. And to the extent that public education can offer, because we have resources, but there is a limit to how much we can actually offer in this setting. How can we make sure that that child has that access to education? And it is not going to look the same for every child. And I think part of that equity piece that is hard to overcome is, well, that's not fair. How come X child gets these services and my child? Because your child doesn't need that service, but this child does, in order to be able to access that curriculum, that education in the same way that your child does. So to me, it's really just down to removing those barriers, whatever it may be, so that that child can really reach their highest potential.
And I love how you said whatever that child needs. And, just working with the volume of audiences that I work with, there are people out there that just cannot wrap their mind around that statement that you just made. Look, I'm the teacher. I'm delivering content. You're asking me to personalize or individualize, right? Or to meet young people in the space they are. I'm just teaching. And so there are people out there. There are large volumes of people out there that will never be able to wrap their mind around that. But to me, what you said, it just boils down to great teaching, period, right? Doesn't even have to have that label equity. It's just great teaching, right? Because to me, it's common sense. I didn't put a name on this one. Anybody that wants to jump in here in terms of what is equity and how do you ensure that youngsters receive an equitable learning experience in your schools, jump on in here. Unmute yourself, Connie.
Whether you're a teacher or a school leader, when you look out into your scholar community, when you're a teacher, when you look out into your classroom, who do you see? What do you see? And how are you able to shift and pivot to give that person what they need? Are we still using curriculum that is heavily representative of one race when you have a classroom full of multi-race or another race? How are you doing things to uplift and inspire young people in ways that are personal to them? Yes, we can say the Pledge of Allegiance because we are American places of learning, but can we say Harambe's because we want to uplift the spirits of our young people? That was important to me. And when I started this year, we instituted a Harambe. I had an idea. I brought it to the leadership team. They picked it apart. We structured it slightly differently, and now we begin our mornings with Harambe every day because it's important to me whether young people are ready to receive the message or not. Sometimes you hear the message and you receive it years down the road.
Yeah.
And that's important for adults to realize. Your work is not in vain just because you're not receiving the response that you think that you should receive right now. So in terms of equity, for me, there's a cultural equity that I feel is very important to be present in the schools where we serve.
Hey, Connie, for those that don't know Harambe, let them know what that means.
Harambe is a word that means come together, and it is an African tradition for folks, communities to stand together, acknowledge the greatness of our ancestors, which is, what I do with my scholars every morning. We acknowledge that we come from someplace greater than where we are right now. So Harambe is acknowledge ancestors, but calls to mind how great we are as a people and how much is expected of you with that greatness.
I love it. That call to unity is a powerful thing. I appreciate that immensely. Anybody else want to jump in?
I shade to the Harambe, sister. Now, to what everyone has already been spoken on, I would just like to add a little caveat that equity begins with a formative assessment. Like, it's not just blanketly throwing everything. We gave this school this, so we're going to give you that.
Yeah.
So now it's equal, and now we're all going to succeed. No, there's a stance of information digging, and there's some data collected to assess the need that exists.
Yeah.
Where are the inequities, if you would? What do you need in order to garner the sort of outcomes that are desired? What is needed in order to garner the outcomes that you desire? So I believe that the other key element to it is that there's a stance of information gathering in which you assess, like, okay, this is where our kids are. This is what we need them to do in order to demonstrate mastery. What do we need to do to get them there?
Yeah.
Right. And to Ms. Warren's point, yes, assessment is key, but also doing it in the way in which we are not hyper assessing students and overwhelming teachers, because we have tons of them out there and they're not all used in a way that's beneficial or productive.
Love it, love it. You said rooted in the formative assessment, right? And that's it, because that's going to tell us where we are. But we're building in that stage. We're formative. We're building. We're not concluding anything, right? I love it. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yes, I would like to share that I think equity also starts with the staff. The staff have the mindset that see every single student as a whole child. The staff should not say, oh, this child does not belong to here. This child does not perform where he has to be. In the staff and teacher, they have to work very, very hard to see every child's needs and meet every single child's needs. So this is start with the staff.
Love it. Hey, y'all, we winding down. I got four more. They short though. They're not as involved. Hey, folks out there, you're watching, you're listening to the Virtual AP Leadership Academy week number 159. Hit that share button, hit that retweet button, hit that repost button. Let them know we're still here. Been on since 10:55. We're still here because this ain't no show, baby. This is an academy. It ends when it ends, right? So here we go. Connie, I'm going with you first. As you reflect back on your experience of being a first year principal this year, inclusive of your wins and your losses as leader, what's that one thing or things that you think, I think I'm going to do this differently next year based on what you learned this year?
I think one thing that I will do differently next year that I did not do next year, not be afraid to reach out to my whole staff prior to the school year beginning. I work with my leadership team. I took community walks with my step coordinator, my AP. I was, reaching out to families, but the staff, we're trained to try to leave summers alone for the staff members because they work so hard, and no one really wants to think about work in July and August. But it was important to have more of their voice in the mix. And so I think one thing that I learned is that for next year, I'm going to at least give them the opportunity to tell me no.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Let's go to Esther.
So mine's more a little meta with in regards to like the assessment piece that you're talking about, Nicole, and the data, because one of our district goals is using the data to drive our instruction, and it was very much part of the fabric of my classroom as a teacher. But now looking at it from a school perspective, looking at the patterns across the grade levels, across the different domains in math, what's happening in informational text versus what's happening in literature, and taking that data and turning it into something useful that can turn into what is actually impacting instruction in the classroom. So we started that work this year because it's my first year and there's a lot going on, but I really hope to hone in a little bit more on that data piece. And also something that I'm really looking forward to that I didn't feel like I could do this year as a first year, just building the relationships with my staff, is next year we're going to be going through a film study using the film Race to Be Human that really looks at race and racism, implicit bias as a staff through our faculty meetings. And to be able to have those open and honest conversations have to come from a place of trust. So this year was that trust building year. And next year, I hope to have really fruitful and productive discussions around the film study.
That's growth. I hear that, and I love it. Nicole, jump on in here.
Absolutely. Definitely looking at how we utilize data and going into assessments. What do our assessments look like? Are we giving the district required? Well, I will say that we have done a phenomenal job of issuing district-wide assessments and meeting those benchmarks regarding assessment participation, always at the top of 93 to 95%. So the staff is very diligent, and I credit the staff for that. Because it was not even like, oh, I have to send out the email to remind staff, etc. It's the staff reaching out to me like, Ms. Hall, we need X, Y, and Z time and so Chromebooks to make sure that we can complete the assessments by our end date. So I completely credit the staff with James A. Cotton and making sure that we're always on our A game with regards to completion, but looking at as a team how we utilize that data. And one of the things that I've had a conversation with my staff is like, during the summertime, are you willing to partner with us so we can have our planning teams and utilize that? And like you said, you want to stay away from that time, right? Like, look, I've been on your phone all year. I know you want me to leave you alone, but we need to play. So are you interested? Let's see what we can do. We might have some budgeting, some funds that we can utilize to make sure we take care of you during this time frame. And we greatly appreciate you, all of those things to make sure we pull them in. But that's the intricate component of it, because we need staff input. Like that's a very crucial part, because although we're in this position, right, and we are working with the kids and for the kids, and we have the adults and we have all these other parts that are moving, our staff, our teachers are on the front line. So I can't completely in isolation, which you should never try as a principal, to make these decisions and to create these goals without the input of the staff. and because they're on the front line, they see these things. So definitely looking at how we utilize our data as well as different operational things.
Yeah.
You know, we had to make some shift this year in our breakfast program, and it actually created an increase of students who ate breakfast on a daily basis. So sitting down with the cafeteria managers, they were like, Ms. Hall, we have about 100 more students that eat breakfast in the morning. I'm like, perfect. Great. We want to make sure that our students are receiving nutritional meals before they go into the building. So taking all of those things, because we talk about data, data is phenomenal, but I want to make sure that we look at all aspects of it. We're looking at the instructional data as well as looking at other school-wide data. Like I said, we had an impact in our breakfast program based on some minor shifts that we made to help streamline how our students were moving.
Good stuff. I love it. I love it. Jenny, jump on in.
The first year when I opened the school, the first year when I opened the school, my focus was the building relationship with the teachers, with the parents, with the students, and created a system in the school. Now the second year, I moved to have a stronger relationship with the parents and share, listen, share, and improve the school. And also strengthen the data analysis process. We met weekly, and all the teachers work so hard. They work above and beyond according each student's data, and they provide the support for intervention or additional support. Moving forward to the third year, and I wish I will have more time, spend more time, and put on my calendar to go into the classroom, interact with students, and be able to understand the teachers' needs and be able to support teachers. As an instructional leader, we spend so much time managing the buildings and managing lots of urgent situation, but next year, I will put the time on my calendar and to interact with the students and the teachers and provide all support they need.
I love it. Good stuff. Good stuff. I got two more questions, y'all. Esther, what advice do you have for APs watching, APs who will see the video later on? What advice do you have for them in terms of their own preparedness toward the principalship one day?
That is about people, about your staff, about your students. You can't, just like in the classroom, you got to have, before curriculum, you got to have the classroom management and the community. Before that rigor, you got to have that relationship. And so before you start any kind of initiative or, I'm going to leave the school this way, like, you need to know the people in your school. So one of the things that I had done in the summer before starting was schedule a one-on-one session with every single staff member, an opportunity to come and let me just know who you are.
Yeah.
Tell me about your family, your experience, your background. Just make that connection up front before you even start trying to push any kind of agenda or anything down their throats. You got to know who's in front of you. And the same thing with your students and your families. Like, who are they? What is the community that you serve? So that would be my biggest advice, is just start with the people.
Start with the people. I love it. Let's go with Nicole. Same question.
Absolutely. Definitely start with the people, all of them, and partner with your principal and continue to partner with your principal to assess need. What do you need me to do? One of the things that I did as an assistant principal, I made sure that I never left the building before my principal did. And if I had to, I stuck my head in our office. I let them know I was taking my leave. I was going for the day. Is there anything you need for me to do? I have to go home at this time, but I can work from home if you need support. And one of the principals that I work with actually told me, after having conversation just about my work ethic and my progress, just was like, you always ask, is there anything else that you need me to help you with? Is there any help you need? Can I do anything for you? She said, you always say that. Can I do anything for you? Can I do anything for you? And I think that's what helped for us to create a relationship, because there's a lot that goes on behind the curtain, if you would, when you're not, when you're an assistant principal, you're oblivious to a lot of the different things that the principal has to carry. right? Even though you're in the same time, you're in leadership and you are very well informed about some things, but there are a lot of things that you are not privy to. And stepping into this role now, I'm aware of that. So in reflecting, I'm just like, okay, I'm grateful that, you know, I stepped in and I asked my AP, is there anything? Because this is a daunting task. This isn't an easy job. So I hope that as an assistant principal, I was helpful to that person. So just always step in and be willing to work and support the principal in whatever it is that they need support with.
You all are giving some very sound, practical advice. Ginny, jump on in here. What advice do you have for that AP relative to preparedness for the principalship?
I encourage all assistant principal to set a goal to be a principal. In order to be ready to be a principal, I will encourage all the assistant principal to learn as much you can, to do as much as you can. For example, like being a testing coordinator, being a, understand special education, understand emerging bilingual students, and building relationship and building the positive culture and climate for the school. Be creative and be proactive, provide lots of suggestions to your principal as a practice as a principal. And also, I will encourage everybody to grow leadership and grow leaders, because you are a leader. You are learning to be a leader. You continue to grow leaders in your building. This is my suggestion. I wish all the assistant principal will be the principal soon.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I love listening to all this advice. Connie, bring us home.
Yes, I was fortunate to serve in a principal residency program last year, where that gave me an opportunity to go out and learn from various grade levels, various leadership styles. So my advice to assistant principals, alongside of being the right arm that your principal needs, is talking to your principal about developing your own residency, where you reach out to various leaders in spaces that you may not be familiar with. And, ask if you can have a few moments of their time to answer a few questions. Ask if you could come and shadow them for a day or two. Like I said, it was a program within my district. I'm blessed to have benefited to be selected for the first cohort of it. But we can create our own residencies where we get the benefit of learning from the minds of various school leaders.
I love it. I got one more for y'all. This is this might be awkward to answer, but I'm gonna throw it at you. I've been debating all day if I was gonna ask you this. Here we go. I didn't put a name with this. You can jump in on this as you please. Here you've been, three of you, 1 year. You're winding down. You're not done yet, but you're winding down. The other one got 2 years, winding down on the second year. My question: are your students and staff at an advantage because you are the principal? Anybody?
I'd like to think so.
I second that. No, and that's a good question, to put out there. As an AP, I put a survey out at the end of the year, and I told my staff, I said, I evaluate you all, so I'm going to allow you to evaluate me. And they gave me some really, and I was like, this will not be anonymous because I have to put my name on your evaluation. I have to sign off on it. So you sign off on yours. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I got really great advice as an assistant principal, and it helped me to move into my next year. And I think that's something that I would do again this year as a first year principal, is to get their insight as well as the insight of the students. But I would like to think so. My staff has gone above and beyond to make me feel welcome and invited into this space. Although during football season, they decorated the main office in green and white, because it's a building full of Eagles fans, and I'm a Cowboys fan, so I threatened to go. I was going to suspend myself. I was like, I'm going home. I'm suspended, right? And they're watching like she's wearing green though. But just going above and beyond, greeting each other, having staff say, we have never done so many different events. Like every time I'm like, I don't like to say no. So if you want to do something, absolutely bring it to me. Let's talk about it and let's do it. If it's student centered, if it's for the best interest of the school, if the staff is interested in doing this, let's do it. So we've done a lot of things that they said they hadn't done before, and things of limitations like COVID and things of that nature just weren't able to get into. And thus far, I think they're enjoying it. With regards to the students, I get hugs every day. One student tells me, "Oh, I didn't get the daily hug." So, we give the daily hug and we do those things. And for the students who may not want the daily hug, they give the nicknames like "Run is Debo" as they're walking home from school, and I'm following them up this.
Yeah.
So, building those relationships, and because I have worked on those relationships and with the staff, I would like to think that the school, for staff, students, everyone is better because I'm there.
I love it. And before you go, Connie, just for the sake of the audience, why I would ask a question. This is not a shameless plug. This is just, I wrote this back in 2018. Is my school a better school because I lead it? So I decided to tweak the question and ask it, are the students and staff at an advantage? But this is a question that I ask literally every leader that I speak to every day, right? Because I think it's the most, I can't, if I could come up with a better question for a leader to ask oneself, right? Is my school a better school because I lead it? That's the question, but it's not a one-time question. It's a every single day question, because the answers are going to vary. Right. Some days the answer is an emphatic no, right? It is not better, not based on my performance today, but tomorrow's another day. And that's why I say it's a question to ask of oneself literally every day. So today, was my school a better school because I led it? Yeah, we had a great day. My leadership was on point. Doesn't mean I reached my pinnacle, but my leadership was on point. But then tomorrow I had some setbacks, right? So that way now we can assess ourselves and grow and grow and grow and grow. Go ahead, Connie.
I think that to answer your question, I think it probably, as you said, depends on the day, and sometimes it will depend on who you ask. I have hundreds of scholars. Sometimes, I'm more closely connected to one scholar than another. Sometimes a scholar receives a response that he or she doesn't like. And so on that day, if you ask them, the school is not better because I'm here. However, I've had multiple examples of feeling that, as Esther, as you said, feeling that I belong, and also, being brought to tears, being moved by some of the things that staff members have shared with me about what's on their heart. Parents have, said to me, one parent said, when she came around the corner on the first day of school and saw how we were opening the school year, that told her that it would be a different year this year. So I think, as you said, Principal Kafele, the answer varies from day to day, but it is an important question to ask yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Did I get Ginny, did you want to go? You don't feel
compelled? Yeah, I think I love the idea and watch the mirror every day. Every day, I could even say every night before I sleep. I always ask myself, have I done everything I have to do and for the best interest of our students so I can sleep? So the first year that we build the establish the rated A school status. And then the second year, we got a lot of students have a lot of achievements in after school clubs and robotic competitions and math count competition, all the dance and all these extracurricular after school as well. So I feel that I have done what I plan to do. However, I still, as a leader, we still continue to learn and grow. This year, I did several surveys to the staff and also joined the Rice University Executive Education Academy, allow me to do the survey. It's called the 360 assessment survey about your leadership. I appreciate the district gave me the opportunity to continue to grow my leadership. So at the end of the year, I'm going to do the survey to all the parents and to hear their suggestions. I believe when you receive the survey and you always have up and down in the area that you did well and area you need to grow, I'm always opening to grow. So I look forward to a new school year.
Same.
Wow, that's
Same.
powerful stuff. Great
Yeah.
stuff. Hey, y'all, we came right to the end. Let me before we close it out, let's go to these, what I call my BAM impact questions. Rapid fire. I'm gonna give each of you 5, and then the last question, I'm gonna give each of you the same last question. So one word answer or one sentence. Anything over a sentence, I'm gonna say and cut you off, right? It's rapid fire. Here we go. Ginny, 5 questions for you. Is education on the right path for underserved children?
This is a good question.
Don't
Our
forget,
goal is to meet everybody's needs.
say that again.
The goal of education is to meet every student's needs.
All right. Can true equity occur in America's schools for children of color and other underserved students?
Is it for me or for other students?
No, it's for you, Ginny. I got 5 rapid questions just for you.
Okay. Can you say that again?
Yeah. Can true equity occur in America's schools for children of color and other underserved students?
Yes.
Does Principal Ginny Liang's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
I believe so.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
The same.
And why do you continue to do this work?
Because of passion.
Connie.
I love to see people grow.
Good stuff. Connie, I got 5 for you. What fires you up within the work that you do?
Just as always.
What do you love most about the work you do?
The love that I get to share.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
Having the crucial but critical conversations.
What has been your greatest victory in your work thus far?
Having a challenging parent come to me with an idea.
And what was your greatest mistake in your work thus far?
Not, I guess, as I said earlier, my obstinance, my stubbornness.
Esther, here we go. 5 questions. What has been your greatest challenge in your work thus far?
Understanding that the source of feedback may not necessarily be what's best for you.
Are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal?
As an assistant principal?
Yeah.
Yes and no. It was a tough position.
Are you proud of your first year as a principal?
Absolutely.
Who inspires you in the work you do?
The children every day.
And what are you reading right now? Book, blog, article, anything?
Poverty by America by Matthew Desmond. It's good stuff. You got to read it.
Very good. Nicole, here we go. What book would you recommend for our viewers?
The Assistant Principal 50. Principal Kafele.
Appreciate you. What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
I would like to demonstrate great improvement academically for students building-wide.
Are you satisfied with where you are now professionally?
Absolutely not. There's always room for growth every day.
That's right. What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
I would say, kick it down.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
Spend some time in reflection, pour into yourself mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and it will ignite again.
Love it. And the last question is for each of you, one at a time. First, Ginny. If Ginny Liang was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition? Unmute. Unmute, Ginny. Go ahead.
Serve people.
Serving people?
Yeah.
Very good. If Connie Grier was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
A seeker of justice who serves all communities.
If Esther Loor was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
An authentic leader who believes in the highest potential of each child.
And if Nicole Hall was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Innovator, inspiration, and dedication.
I love it. I love it. Hey, this was great. It exceeded expectations, man. This was great because it can be rough, it can be challenging with 4, but y'all made it work, man. I appreciate you. Hey, y'all, you know what we do in the thread. The veterans, the new people wouldn't know, but I'm gonna tell you, let them know if they benefited you today, if they were beneficial today, if they gave you something you could use. If anything they said resonated with you, hit us up with those emojis. You know how we do it. Whatever your favorite emoji is, just put it in the chat. I see it, man. I see them. Keep them coming. And let me, the way I let the guests know, I get the bat out since I wear the baseball jersey. I'm wearing some Bob Gibson St. Louis Cardinals today. Y'all hit a grand slam, but you hit 4 grand slams each, man. That's a whole lot of runs. I ain't got the patience to do the math right now. So just y'all hit it out the park, man. This was big. And I could tell from the comments, people were loving your responses to these questions. So just great stuff. And I know that you're doing great work at the school. Let them know how they can reach you. I should have asked you this before, so I could have typed it in, but let them know how they can reach you. Let me start off in the order that I see you on my screen. Nicole, how can folks reach out to you, social media, that type of thing?
I am on Facebook as Nicole Hall.
All right, so just reach out, y'all. Nicole Hall. Esther, how can they reach you if they got questions, concerns?
I'm on Twitter at Esloor, ESLOOR, and I'm on LinkedIn.
Slow that down for me. Say that slow.
So I'm on Twitter. My handle is at Esloor, so ESLOOR. And you can find me on LinkedIn. And then you can also email me, eloor@summit.k12.nj.us.
Good stuff. Ginny, how can they reach you?
We have Facebook. We also have a Twitter. I prefer people reach me on my email. My email address is Ginny Liang, Ginny, my first name, last name, Liang. Sorry, Ginny.Liang, Liang, at Stafford, Stafford, MSD, Municipal School District, StaffordMSD.org.
Good stuff. Connie, how can they reach you?
You can reach me on Twitter at Connie, K Grier, CONNIE, KGRIER. LinkedIn is Connie Grier. My email address is CGRIER2 at PHILASD.org.
All right, sounds good. And folks, if you missed anything, y'all know we can find anybody on social media. So that ain't hard to find, man. That's how I find a lot of people, man. I find them. I find whoever I'm looking for. Right. So good stuff. I appreciate y'all. Look here, folks. Let me just go through the rundown. I know you've been here a long time. I appreciate you being here always. Next week is week number 160. I got 2 principals, 2 gentlemen, Principal Dr. Darrell Diggs from St. Louis and Principal James Presley from down, I think he's in Jacksonville, Florida. So we're going to have a very good conversation. Join us. Sharon Wells, I'm going to be reaching out to you. I was thinking you and Lauren, the 2 sisters, come on and be my guest one day. So I'll reach out to you and Lauren and we'll hook that up. Folks, every Saturday morning, Facebook Live, Sean Hurd at 10 o'clock. Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30. Unlock the Middle on Sunday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time with Principal Josh Tovar and Dean Packard. And then the Village Leadership Group with one of our former guests, Dr. Roz Gaskins and Coach Williams, is every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. Join me on July 11 and 12 in Charlotte, North Carolina for the School Leadership Institute with yours truly, Principal Kafele. Go to principalkafele.com, scroll down to the announcements, and just click the register button. Register, and I'd love to see you in the building July 11 and 12. We're talking leadership for 2 days from 9 to 4. The new joint is here. The Assistant Principal Identity, protecting your leadership mindset, fervor, and authenticity. You can get it right now on Amazon. You go to ASCD as well, but go to Amazon. I like to keep track of the rankings. So go to Amazon and get yourself a copy if you don't have it, and then post those pics, man. Post those pics. A lot of people have been buying it. They do just like you see me on the camera, right? So post those pics and get yourself a copy, man. I'm loving this book, even though I wrote it, but I think it's got some good stuff in it. Make sure that you go to Alexa and check me out, man. Every day, every morning, the morning messages. Just go to Alexa and say open ASCD morning messages, and I'll be right there with a new message every day. And then subscribe to the Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel. Hit that little red button. We're up to like 17,800 subscribers. I'm trying to get to 18,000 and then 20,000. So hit that red button. And then join me on the Virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page. If you haven't liked and followed it yet, like and follow that page. I haven't been writing commentaries lately, folks, because I'm on the brink of burnout, right? I'm just working really hard. I used to write a commentary every Sunday. I'm going to get back to it. But lately, that Sunday morning is like me time, like just do nothing. I do hit the gym. But outside of that, I just don't want to write anything, because I write all week. I'm speaking all week. I'm flying all week. I'm doing all that stuff, and I just need to bring it down, right? So I'm gonna get back to them at some point. Lastly, your diet, eat right. I can't say that to myself this past week, but I'm home right now, so we're gonna get that together. Get your exercise in. I've been taking care of that. Even on the road, I hit that fitness room, get on that treadmill, and do my 45 minutes. And then those COVID precautions, man, just, whatever they are. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life as far as COVID anymore, but I will say this. When I'm on them planes, man, I rock that mask, baby. I rock that mask. It's the only place I wear it, but that's the only place I'm in such tight proximity with other people, right? So when I'm on that plane, man, I don't care how people look at me, because they look at me funny. They do, right? But I'm good with it. They're gonna get sick at some point, and I'm still gonna be feeling good, man. Because while y'all coughed and sneezed on that flight, I wasn't breathing that stuff in, right? So take care of yourselves, folks. Other than that, have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. 1, 2, 3. Bam.
Yeah.
I see everybody next Saturday at 10:55. Appreciate y'all, not just the ones in the comments, but the ones who are laying back in the cut and don't even let me know who you are. We appreciate you too. Y'all hang with me a second.